Welcome on into the barber shop. Greg Schwartz of the Bleacher Report is with me, and we got a lot to talk about. The Cleveland Cavaliers, another big time win, 112-84 at home over the Brooklyn Nets. Cavs are hot. We'll talk about the 4-0 start. We'll get to what they look to get done tonight in Charlotte. And also, we teased it a little bit last week. We got to get to the LeBron James conversation. He has a lot to say. He's been bigging up in the Cavs and talking a little bit. So we'll preview and see if LeBron has another third stint in him. We'll come back and do it right here on the barbershop. As we said before, Greg, we got a lot to get into. How did you enjoy the game last night? And your thoughts, basically, the bigger overview of what you thought before we dig down into the weeds of this game against the Nets.
Yeah, so as I'm watching that against Brooklyn last night, I'm just keep wondering, are the Cavs this good or is Brooklyn this bad? It was a little bit of both because, right from the jump, I mean, they were beaten them by about 20 points after the first quarter. Offensively, they were getting whatever they wanted to. The offense looked really creative too. And then the size difference too. Evan Mobley, this was his first game back, his first game playing with James Harden. And it was the size difference in the starting lineup changes quite a bit when you have Dean Wade at small forward, Evan Mobley at power forward versus, Sam Merrill and Jaylen Tyson. So you had more size. You had another shooter out there in Dean Wade that can also defend. And getting Evan Mobley back in the fold was great. None of these guys had to have a monster night to beat Brooklyn. And Brooklyn is pretty terrible right now. But just the way the Cavs ran their sets early, the way that the very first play of the game was designed to go to Evan Mobley, was an entry pass from James Harden, Evan Mobley. And then Harden didn't just stand there. He went and set a screen for Jarrett Allen. Jarrett Allen gets open. Mobley, big to bbig pass. Jarrett Allen gets fouled. Just that creativity in the offense was really great to see.
Yeah, you take a look at it, and you said you didn't need very much from the Cavs. You take a look at what they were able to do. Minutes weren't too heavy because they came out. I thought it was funny that the Nets had to come out and get a timeout. They got a timeout like 10 seconds into the game. Yeah. It was like, yeah, we're gonna try to make sure that we can stick in this, but this game wasn't close. You take a look at Dean Wade in the starting lineup, 4 of 4, 3 of 3 from the 3-point arc. And you know what he does. He gives you the ability. He's a plus 28. Kenny talks about it. We'll hear from him in a second about how he helps their defensive lineup when he's able to be a big, and they have that front line with Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, and Dean Wade. Jarrett Allen continues to be a rough rider. I don't know what's going on with Jarrett Allen, but this new Jarrett Allen lifestyle that he's out here, he got a technical foul the other day. I don't know what's gotten into him, but I like to see it. 5 of 8, still very competent around the basket, 10 rebounds. Evan Mobley made his return, 10 points, 5 of 9, 9 rebounds on limited minutes. He's on limit restrictions. And then James Harden. I thought you got a chance to see what James Harden, what he brings to the table. He started off passing the ball, getting the ball to the bigs where they want the ball at, and then he went on a quick little 8-0 run himself, little step back, get to the free throw line, do that. And Donovan Mitchell, as always, is efficient doing what he does. You take a look at that even scoring. This is very, very, very problematic for other teams. If Dean Wade is going to give you that, Evan Mobley is going to continue to give you the double figures, and Allen is going to do that. They didn't need all this from the Nets because this game was out of hand.
Yeah, and it's a small sample size because they've only played 4 games with James Harden so far. 3 of those teams were absolute terrible in terms of their record so far this year. But in those 4 games, the Cavs are number 2 in the NBA in offense. And I don't think that's a fluke. The number might come down a little bit when they play, more consistent playoff teams that are actually trying to win. But yeah, right there, when you look at Brooklyn, the Wizards, the Kings, I mean, the Kings just set a record for most straight losses in franchise history, which is saying a lot for Sacramento. So, but the Nuggets win was a good win. And in all 4 of those games, the offense looked really good. And I think there's just, when I'm watching James Harden with the ball, there's something that I haven't seen since the days of LeBron James. And it's just this tentativeness from the defense where they don't know what's going to happen because he's so talented as a scorer and as a playmaker. There's just this uneasiness, like, versus if you have a one-dimensional playmaker or a one-dimensional scorer. He's very creative. He's unselfish so far. I'm still not going to say I love the trade, but
you ain't get too excited yet, right?
I've seen how this story starts and how it ends, but for right now, he brings that offensive juice that this team didn't have before, and so far through 4 games, it's been great to see.
Yeah, like the thing that was reminiscent with him and Donovan Mitchell is I go back to the 2016, 2017, and the dream that I have is I was talking to Jason Lloyd about this, and we were talking about it today on UCSS. He said. I mentioned to him, I said, Jason, the thing that people get when the Cavs came back, it wasn't game 5 was the game. The game, game 6 was great. They got in their head a little bit. They came back home. The Cavs blew them out. Then they got to game 7. But let me tell you about game 5. When you're dealing with game 5 and you get Kyrie Irving and LeBron getting 40 apiece and Golden State to send it back to the game 6, those are the things that is reminiscent. Now, I'm not saying that this is prime. Let's not get it twisted. It's not prime Kyrie and LeBron, but it just seems like they don't ever panic. It's like if we don't get through our sets, okay, whatever. Just give one of them the basketball and they can make something happen. And I haven't had that feeling in a while since those Kyrie and LeBron teams.
Yeah, I have the picture hanging in my office right now. LeBron at 41, 16 and 7. Kyrie 41, 5 3, 6 assists. Yeah. Oof. Yeah, that was a bad game. I remember that. But the comparison I'll draw from that is just the fact that the defense, and Darius Garland was obviously a phenomenal offensive player when he was healthy, but defenses didn't fear him the way they fear James Harden, or the way they feared Kyrie Irving in his prime, or the way they feared LeBron James. And you can tell because now these shooters have a little bit more space. Dean Wade had some wide open threes last night because guys were cheating. You're throwing a second defender towards Harden, a second defender towards Donovan Mitchell. And now, you have Jared Allen, who's running free to the rim in transition. The transition defense for the Nets last night was terrible, and Cleveland got a couple easy baskets that way. But just the respect that the defense has to pay to the Cavs now when they have 2 dynamic guards, 2 all-star caliber guards back there who can shoot, who can play make, who can rebound, who can do all this stuff. It just opens everything else up, and there's a real fear in the defense that kind of like you said, I haven't seen from the Cavs in a long time.
Let's get to this. Kenny Atkinson talked a little bit after the game about his thought process as to why he went with the lineup with Dean Wade at the starting small forward. Let's take a look and see what he has to say about that and why that move. It makes the Cavs a better team, in his opinion.
To have this, kind of feel we need to be strong defensively to start the game. I think that's our best. Defensive lineup. And, if Dean Wade makes shots like that, it makes it, an incredible lineup. I know it's another different lineup, right? But they seem to have figured it out. I thought we had good flow with that lineup.
Greg, he talks about them just figuring it out. Like, that's the cool thing about having another ball handler like James Harden. This is almost like his basketball IQ, and he's such a great passer and understands the game so well that it's kind of like they're just still figuring it out, but he's good enough to figure out, hey, on the run, where do I need to get guys? Where do I need to get guys set up? And Dean Wade is another 6'9" guy. And the thing about Dean is it's all about whether he's hitting shots. In the playoffs, he has not been able to make shots, and so he's been able to be – frankly, unplayable. But if he's hitting those shots and you are able to have that big lineup, and you have Donovan Mitchell, who is an underrated passer, in my opinion, you have James Harden, who's going to find guys. I mean, this is a very scary thing if Dean Wade can continue to make shots.
Yeah, let's talk about Dean Wade for a second, because I think the idea of him has always been better than what you actually get. Because if you look at him, you're like, well, he's got a good looking shot. He should be a 40% 3-point shooter, and he's usually not around that area. But the good thing about him is he's so good defensively, and he's so underrated, and he can stick to guys multiple sizes, multiple heights, weights, athletic ability. And it's a real advantage when you can play him at the 3, because if you look at the numbers of positional breakdown with him, when Dean Wade is playing small forward, the Cavs are giving up 98 points per 100 possessions. That is outstanding. That would rank in the 99th percentile of all defensive lineups. The Cavs with Dean Wade at the 3 are beating teams by 22 points per 100 possessions. When he's playing the 4, they're only beating teams by 4 points. So that's a huge difference. So if you can get away with him as your small forward, and then you have Evan Mobley at the 4, Jared Allen at the 5, it just gives you such a big advantage, because now, when you were playing 6'4" Sam Merrill, 6'4" Max Strus, Jaylen Tyson, I like him as a starting small forward, but he's a little undersized at the 3. If you can play a guy who's 6'10" at small forward, obviously that lineup gives you a huge advantage, and the numbers show it.
The real Night King, we appreciate the super chat. What surprised me was this guy was low-key cooking 4-4 in the first half. Don Julio putting people on posters. Even Ellis is doing his thing. Fun to be a Cavs fan right now. # New Cleveland. And also, the real Night King says, Jay been listening to DMX. I got dog in me. I'm telling you what, there's been a couple of guys here who have really been doing their things. And by the way, it's infectious. Donovan Mitchell talked about the way that James Harden is giving him a level of energy. And he was like, man, I didn't even know if I could get up that high no more.
Hit you with a pass that you were able to just throw down. How good as a player does it feel to have a guy that can get you the ball and put it right where it needs to be?
I mean, honestly, I didn't even think I was going to dunk it. And he threw it up there, and I went and got it. I was really nervous about falling on, I don't know his name, whoever it was under me. That was pretty much my only concern. That's why I hung on the rim. But that's special pass. He knew knew to put it there. Knew to act like he was shooting it, and I'm definitely putting that one on the wall for sure.
So I was crazy. I was trailing the play. He threw it. I really didn't. I saw Don at first, like early, and then I looked as he threw the lob. I was like, "Where's Don?" Like, I couldn't even see him. I was like, "No way, Don's going to have to get this in traffic." And then all of a sudden, Don jumped. I was running back on defense, like, "That really just happened?"
Listen, that brought the house down. And look, if Don gonna catch him like that, Don looked like that was Don 5-6 years ago when he was in the dunk contest. He's more the 3-point shooting Donovan Mitchell than the dunking Donovan Mitchell. But it just goes to show you guys is running the floor hard. There was a period where Evan Mobley was running the floor hard and got a dunk. How has that been infectious to have another guy? And do you think this is sustainable? Because you said it. We've seen this before. Yeah. James Harden gives you a bump everywhere he goes. Guys, bigs play better. Guys get energy. Is this sustainable? And what do they need to do in order to translate that to the playoffs?
Well, there's always a honeymoon period after the trade deadline. I mean, think back to 2018. The Cavs have Isaiah Thomas. They're not doing anything. Morale is low. They get rid of those guys. They get Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. and George Hill and Rodney Hood, and they go into Boston. They beat the Celtics on Paul Pierce jersey retirement night, which is one of my favorite Cavs games of all time, after he spit on our bench many, many years ago. So, and I just remember after that game, the J.R. Smith quote, "We got ourselves a squad now," and everything was great. And then you get to the finals, it's like, oh, these guys aren't quite as good as we thought they were. So everything looks great now. And a lot of that stuff is sustainable. Like last night, Dennis Schroeder is diving on the ground to get a loose ball. You don't see, and they even said that in the broadcast, you don't see too many NBA players diving on the ground for a ball.
At all.
That's true. You don't. Keon Ellis, that dunk in traffic over Danny Wolf, a 7-footer. I knew he had ups. I didn't think he was gonna dunk that. So I was kind of like, whoa, like that got me out of my seat for that. Just stuff like that. You have these little sparks of energy now that absolutely those parts are sustainable. You can always show energy. You can always give effort. You can always dive on the floor for a loose ball. And I think a lot of these guys have a chip on their shoulder. James Harden is a guy that obviously has never won a championship before. He's done everything on an individual level. He wants to win. Dennis Schroeder has been traded more than anybody except for Trevor Ariza in NBA history. He has a chip on his shoulder. Keon Ellis is trying to get his first big payday right now. He has a chip on his shoulders. So a lot of these guys have a lot of things to play for, and it's clearly showing with their energy level right now.
Yeah, when Shooter jumped on the floor for the ball, I said, I ain't seen this in a minute. I mean,
Yeah.
you got a guy, and then Evan Mobley kind of, reciprocated the energy, ran it down, kind of I was a little scared. I said, Evan, you just got back. You just got back. Stop doing let somebody else do that, bro.
Yeah.
But speaking of Evan Mobley, I like the fact that they made a conscientious effort to get the man the ball early. I like some of the backside action that they were doing, trying to, move around, and I like the big passing. How do you think that they're going to incorporate Evan Mobley and Jared Allen? And can you still get an aggressive Jared Allen that you're seeing? Because I didn't think he deferred last night. I think he still played his game, still was aggressive when he got the ball down low. How do you think they'll go about implementing some, the offense with those two bigs out there?
Yeah, so I still don't think they're going to play a lot together. They're both going to start games, but as for the rest of the game, Evan Mobley's your backup center. It's not Thomas Bryant. It's not Naquan Tomlin. It's not Larry Nance Jr. These guys, they're good, but they might not even be in a playoff rotation. Evan Mobley's your backup 5. He's going to get a lot of minutes at center. We saw them experiment with a really small lineup in the second quarter. The start of the second, you had Mobley at center, and you had 4 guards surrounding him. It was basically the opposite of what you did to start the game with all that size, especially with Dean Wade at the small forward. So I still think they're going to stagger Donovan Mitchell and James Harden quite a bit. They're always going to have one of them on the floor. You're going to have one of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the floor. But how much all 4 of them actually play together, I don't know. Because a lot of times in the past, we've seen the Cavs will finish with a smaller lineup where Evan Mobley will be at the 5, Jared Allen's on the bench. But the way that they're playing right now, the way that Jared Allen is playing, he's smart and he knows how to run the floor and he knows how to hustle and get all those easy baskets now that he's got a guy like James Harden to give him the ball to. So hopefully they can make it work with all 4, but you're still going to see a lot of staggering overall.
Yeah, and look, and as long as I could keep me either Donovan Mitchell and James Harden on the floor at all times, and especially during the playoffs, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. And
now you can layer in some of the shooting and different things. And by the way, we talk about Jaylen Tyson. No knock against Jaylen Tyson. I mean, listen, I think he could be a starting caliber small forward. I think that, but I also believe that him coming off the bench gives them more playmaking. I think there's some size, some grit coming off the bench, and shot making ability. So I think he'll get a lot of time mixing and matching throughout. And I think he may be a guy that's going to be on the floor when they end games, especially in the playoffs.
That's a good point. If they're going to go with Dean Wade as a starting small forward and they're going to take advantage of that size and that defense, I get that. But what you just said is, yeah, they're probably going to end a lot of games with Jaylen Tyson. And they're going to say, well, we're going to take his playmaking, his ability off the dribble. We're going to take that over Dean Wade in the 4th quarter of a close game. And we just need a bucket. I could absolutely see that. And if I'm Jaylen Tyson, I want to come off the bench right now. I don't want to be a starter because I know my usage rate, my touches, my shot attempts, the amount of time I have the ball in my hand is going to be much higher if I'm only sharing the court with one of James Harden and Donovan Mitchell and not both of them. Obviously, my catch and shoot opportunities are going to be there with both. I'm the second best 3-point shooter in the NBA right now, but I'm still trying to get paid in a couple years. I still got to get my numbers up. Right. So if I'm him, hey, I'm cool coming off the bench and being the 6th man because I know there's a really good role there for me.
And listen, hey, if they want to put him with, put him with Donovan, they have a great relationship. They play a lot well. They play well off of one another in the 2-man game. Hey, maybe work and stagger it with like that. So we'll see how that goes. Let's get to this. Games are coming up. Let's look at the standings really quickly. Right now, the Pistons are red hot. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, and you take a look at the Boston Celtics 8-2. As a matter of fact, the Knicks, Cavs, Celtics, and Pistons are all extremely hot. I think the Pistons are one of the hottest teams in the league. They just got a big time win the other day against the Knicks. They're 41-13, 36-19. Jaylen Brown is playing out of his mind. And then you got the Knicks at 35-21, Cavs at 35-21. How do you see this thing shaking up, and what do you make of the teams at the top 4? I think these are the top 4 that's going to go into the stretch, and it's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah, clearly these four teams are going to be the ones that separated themselves. I thought maybe a week ago the Orlando Magic might make a run because Franz Wagner just came back. Now he's back out again with injury. 76ers, they're just so inconsistent with guys in and out of lineup. The Toronto Raptors are frauds. Like they're not 10 games
Right.
over 500 good. They're decent. They're a good team. They're a good young team, but they don't scare me. I mean, we talked about this last week, right? Like the Pistons, I think, are a regular season team. They defend at a high level. They take advantage of a lot of teams that aren't giving great effort in the regular season. They haven't proven themselves yet, so they're hungry. They're trying to win every regular season game. And then you have teams like the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs are like, yeah, we've had the great regular season record, but we know when it's money time. We know when this really matters. And to me, we're still keeping an eye on Jason Tatum. And if he's going to come back from his torn Achilles, it's questionable. We don't know what he'd look like when he comes back. I still think it's going to be Cavs and Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I say that heavily knowing that Detroit just went into New York and beat them pretty soundly. But there's a difference between the regular season and there's a difference between a playoff series when you are game planning for a star. And if you take Cade Cunningham, you limit what he does in a series. Who else on that team is beating you? I just think they're a regular season team.
Yeah, Cade Cunningham, to me, he's a bona fide ball player. He's a bona fide star.
Sure.
Problem is, what else you got after that? Because we done been here before. I done sat on this team and saw Donovan Mitchell, and they'd be like, well, what else after that, right? Yeah. And, Boston, the scary thing about Boston is they can just wake up and hit 35 threes or something, and you're just like, dude, they just not missing today. Jaylen Brown is doing it. But I do think I'd be interested to see if Jason Tatum rushes himself back. It seems like players more than ever are a little more, I guess, cautious to come back from those type of injuries. So I don't know where you get to be seen with that. And you're right about the Raptors. And I still hate Scotty Barnes' game. I still don't like it. I don't know what he does well. I know the numbers look like that, but no, I don't know what Scotty Barnes does. So let's take a look at the next 4 games, because I will tell you this. Is Charlotte frauds? Are they frauds? Are they gonna make the playoffs, and are they gonna make any noise?
Yes and no. Yes, they are going to make the playoffs because they try hard every night. And if LaMelo Ball's healthy, that's a good team. Con Knippel's one of the best rookies we've seen in years. Brandon Miller's very good. And they are going to make the playoffs. Are they going to make it out of the first round? No. But, this is a team that's made the playoffs once in the last decade. So that's still a good year for them. Yeah,
looking at the rest of the schedule, it's going now. OKC, I think SGA is not going to play in that game. Yeah. And that's going to be a matinee game, so it's a good barometer at Oklahoma City. You got the Knicks coming up on Peacock. That's a national televised game. Milwaukee Bucks, Giannis is back. And then you're at the Pistons on ESPN. So the Cavs, they got a little uptick here. This is good competition. Yeah. Coming out of these games, what will you be looking for in terms of what you're looking for with the Cavs? And are you looking for something specific against a team, or are you looking at an overarching theme of the way they're playing, and what will you look for from these games specifically?
Yeah, I mean, this is the healthiest the Cavs have been basically all season. Now that Evan Mobley's back and Dean Wade's playing, I know we don't have Max Strus still, but what does the rotation look like? What does the starting 5 look like? Are we sticking with Dean Wade there? Or are we saying, I want to see what Jaylen Tyson looks like because New York's got all these good defensive wings. I want to see, if we can exploit that with a little bit more offense on there. At Detroit's going to be tough. I look at that, and if the Thunder don't have SGA, I think at Detroit's going to be the toughest game there. New York at home, Cleveland's going to be rocking that night. Cleveland is going to be rocking. That's going to be a great game because these two teams do not like each other. New York was obviously the rumored destination for Donovan Mitchell all those years ago. And Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell kind of have this. If you look at all like the NBA rankings and Bleacher Report just put out our top 99, Brunson and Mitchell are always close. They're always close. And then you have Kendrick Perkins the other day telling Jalen Brunson if they win a title, he's the best Knick of all time. There's so much like legacy to be written between the Cavs and Knicks right now. So Milwaukee, even with Giannis, they're a 500 team. I think they're 15-15 in Giannis's games this year. Charlotte played last night, so that's going to be a good game, but both teams are on a back-to-back. So New York is extremely interesting, and at Detroit, I think are going to be their two biggest tests.
Yeah, we'll take a look at right now really quickly. We'll look at the matchup predictor. This is courtesy of ESPN. They have the Cavs with a 60.8 chance of winning this basketball game. You can see the odds right there if you get a guy that puts a little sauce down on some of these games. Donovan Mitchell, 28 points a game. Brandon Miller, 20, as you said as well. Evan Mobley looks like he's going to be not playing in this game because he's on a restriction. Diabate is suspended, and you look at the assist leaders: Donovan Mitchell 5.9, and LaMelo Ball he's putting up big time points this year. I did not think LaMelo was going to be that good. I'm not going to lie. I thought he was going to be a guy that wasn't going to put up numbers, but LaMelo has done his thing. Let's get to this. Now, we talked about this a little bit earlier as we finish this thing up. We talked about the situation with LeBron James. We hinted it last week, and we talked about it. We say, hey, well, listen, we'll wait. I'm going to just talk about James Harden. We'll see what's going on with LeBron. So we heard from Rich Paul last week about the trade with Darius Garland. He knew what was going on. Let's see if we can read something in this. Now, LeBron James does this podcast with Steve Nash, and he has some high praise for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll read into it and see what we think.
I think let's park the clips for a minute. But for the Cavs, I think this is potentially a difference maker.
Yeah, and they're going for it.
Yeah.
They're going for it. They felt like they needed, another playmaker, someone that's been there, kind of been in this situation before, and they added James, like you said, perennial all-star, who's still putting up all-star numbers, gives, Donovan Mitchell another like ball handler guy who can make shots late in the game, but also like those pickups that they got from from Sack as well.
Yes.
Schroeder, a former teammate of mine, that's going to compete every single night, and Keon Ellis, guy who's going to compete, make shots. Like those guys are going to be, I think, really, really good for that team, right? And especially in the East where it's a lot of bulk, a lot of you got to have some dogs in there. So I think they added a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about the two bench guys, Ellis and Schroeder. Schroeder, obviously, he's going in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
For not only having an NBA career, but what he's done with Germany.
Yeah, for sure.
World Championship and the Olympic medal, European Championship. So that's a guy who's pressure tested.
Yeah.
So you add that to your bench, which is great.
Yeah.
I think there was something off with the Cavs, and I think it's hard to judge them because they were always injured too.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting back to our conversation.
Yeah. No Garland and Strus. He hadn't played. Strus hadn't played all year as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like Strus, it's interesting. I know we know him as a shooter, but he was the dog on that team.
Yeah.
The guy that's going to stick his nose in there every night, and I think they missed that a little bit personality-wise. So, I think that's a difference maker for them.
That was a nice little basketball assessment. He didn't really, just jump off the roof with it, but I do think it was a nice basketball assessment that he talked about. But your thoughts on LeBron James and his high praise for the Cleveland Cavaliers? Is this a basketball move, or are you reading something different into it?
No, I mean, you know LeBron. He always likes to trade potential for existing star power. I mean, we saw that Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love. I mean, how many young players did we give up for older guys who maybe weren't in the prime of their career? Going back to Shaquille O'Neal, Antoine James, it's always been, let's get somebody in here that can help me win right now. So I think that probably definitely got his attention for sure.
Oh yeah, listen, and when you look at it, now you guys came out with your Bleacher Report did come out with their top, I believe it was a top 30?
Top 99.
Top 9. So LeBron James was, I believe, 26th or 24th?
Yeah, he was in the 20s.
He was in the 20s.
Yeah.
Now the Cavs did have James Harden, who was on that list. Evan Mobley, which was on that list, I believe at 24, 23, 24.
Yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell at 8. So you take a look at it. They got that's potentially, if they were able to add LeBron, that's a big time jump. You have 3 or 4 players inside of the top 30. So when you look at LeBron James and what he's doing and how he moves, The question to me for LeBron coming back is two things. One, how do they maneuver the roster? Because Bronny coming. So, I'm just listen. I'm like, first of all, let me ask you this: is Bronny a package deal? We could get that out the way right now.
Bronny would have to be traded. Bronny got a 4-year guaranteed deal as a second-round pick, which was very rare. I wonder why the Lakers did that. So he would have to be traded. He's not going to be a free agent.
Oh, so listen. So that's crazy. He hooked him up. So he got him some job security while he knew what he was going to do. Yeah, go ahead, do your thing. I'm going to be right out here. Listen, you could always come back to Cleveland when the Lakers come on and you can stay in your own bed or whatever you want to do over here. So thank you. Well, that's one thing down. Let's get to the second thing. Is he going to demand a max deal? And the Cavs even have the ability, not max deal, but is he going to step the mid-level exception? And I don't even know if the Cavs have the mid-level exception because they would need to do some things to move stuff around to even get under the cap. Money-wise, how would that look?
Yeah, so a couple things have to be decided. Number one is James Harden, because James Harden has a $42 million player option, which if he picks that up, the Cavs can buy that out for 13. So you could potentially shave off $30 million, but you don't have James Harden. And that would probably be not a positive review for LeBron to come back to Cleveland. I'm sure if he wants to come back, then they're going to have James Harden. So let's assume James Harden is on the roster for $40 million, and he could opt out and they could sign a new deal or whatever. But I don't think James Harden came to Cleveland to take a pay cut. Let's put that out of the way right now. So as it is, Cavs are going to be in the second apron next year, which means if you're a second apron team, you can only sign a guy to a veteran minimum contract, which is about $3 million. So LeBron's making about 53 this year. Is he going to take a $50 million pay cut? And you could say LeBron's got more money than he knows what to do with. LeBron's goal is team ownership. It's not to be a coach. It's not to be a GM. He wants to own a team. The Los Angeles Lakers just sold for $10 billion.
He got to get his money up.
$10 billion. LeBron, I have a hard time believing he's going to give up $50 million. Now, the Cavs could make some moves. They could get under the second apron, but that only opens up the taxpayer mid-level exception of about $5 or $6 million. So he could double that $3 million. Again, is LeBron taking a $46 million pay cut? You are going to have to unload the Max Strus, the Dennis Schroeders, like all the mid-level guys just to try to get to a mid-level exception deal of like 14, 15 million. And again, that's a huge pay cut. So if LeBron's coming back to Cleveland, he's going to have to do it knowing that I'm sacrificing money for a chance at a title, the chance to come back out east, and the chance to finish my legacy in what could be my final season in a place where I'm going to go into the Hall of Fame as a member of.
If he does come back, two more questions. If he does come back, is this a one-year move, or is this one of his LeBron James one-in a player option that he so traditionally loves to do?
That's a great question. I mean, he's played well enough now that you're like, oh my gosh, he better, it's not like you say, wow, he better retire next year. It's getting bad. Like, no, he's still putting up good numbers. But, I've said this before. I think he's going to be the type that is going to announce his retirement tour before the season starts or very early into the season. He's not going to be some guy that comes out at the All-Star break is like, hey guys, I'm going to hang it up in 2 months. No, I think he's going to soak in all the attention that Kobe Bryant got. And I think it's great. I think he should do that because he deserves it. He's, in my eyes, the greatest player that's ever played. So I think it would be a 1-and-1 that would give him the option to say, yeah, I can come back if I want to, but I think he just likes to have his options. So it'd probably be a 1+1 that he's used to signing. It's been pointed out many times that right now is the only time in his career he's been on an expiring deal. He's always had an option and opted out to become a free agent. So I think he likes his options. But again, if he comes back to Cleveland, he's leaving $50 million on the table potentially.
Final question. Does this make it sweeter for him to come back, or is it a deterrent? If the Cavs win the championship this year, does LeBron look at it as being like, bro, I can't even really do that. I mean, I'm gonna look like I'm jumping a bandwagon, Or is it like, no, I'm LeBron. This is my city and my team. I live here. I could come back. I don't care if Jordan was on the team. It's still me. Which one do you think is the thoughts going in his head if the Cavs are hoisting that trophy with Donovan Mitchell and James Harden?
Wow, that's a great hypothetical. I hadn't thought about that. That's a great hypothetical. Certainly, if they don't win the title, I think that gives him more incentive to come back and be like, "Well, you guys couldn't get it done without me, so I'm going to ride in here and get this done." And I've seen a lot of Cavs fans debate like, "Oh, would you rather, LeBron? Would you rather win a title with LeBron or without LeBron?" I don't care. I just want a title. Like, I don't care. Like, that's great if LeBron comes back and wins one. It's great if they win one without him. So I think if you're LeBron, you wouldn't get the same flack that like Kevin Durant got for joining the Warriors, because you have a history here. You've been here twice. You've had all the playoff success, the 4 straight finals, the championship. He certainly wouldn't get the flack that other superstars have gotten for like ring chasing, and he could definitely paint it as, no, I was always come back to Cleveland. I was always going to end my career here, because he's said in the past that he's left that door open.
Yeah, I think it's very fascinating. I know he has a bit of an ego. I do think there's a smaller chance. I think it's a bigger uptick, because he can always come back. And what he did when he was here in 2014, he came back and brought I brought the heat waves. I understand how to win. Let me show you how to do this. Yeah. And it worked. So I think it'll be one of those things where it'll be a big of a jump. But I don't think that I don't think he'll knock it too much. I think he'll just say, hey, listen, it's a great opportunity. Or he can always sell it like this. Always planned on doing this. So it didn't always matter, man. So, Greg, we appreciate you. Your thoughts on the game tonight. Give me a quick prediction and let me know what you think is going to pop off tonight in Charlotte. Do you think the Cavs can make it 5-0 with James Harden?
Yeah, Cavs are going to make it 5 in a row. I think this is going to be more of a test, certainly, than Brooklyn was last night. But, none of these guys, it's a back-to-back, but none of these guys had played more than like 25 minutes last night. So they're all going to be fresh. Evan Mobley's going to get his rest. Jared Allen's going to have another 20-10 game. James Harden is probably going to have 8 or 10 assists. And Donovan Mitchell, I think he only scored 17 last night. I can see a 30-piece out of Donovan Mitchell tonight as well.
I like it, man. I put the toast up. I like that 5-0. Book it. I got the Cavs winning tonight. Make sure you check us out tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the barbershop for Greg Schwartz for G. Bush. You never know where G. Bush might show up, radio, television, internet. But if you want a fresh cut on sports, I keep the Clippers with me. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, go Cavs.